So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our resident expert to share with you guys some words of wisdom, cash flow management, financial statements, and all that good stuff. So, Crystal, the floor
Hello,
is yours.
everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am going to, oh, can you guys give me sharing capacity here? Hello, who's that? John? Hello to everyone. I see some familiar names and some that I don't know. Hey, Nikia.
There you go, Crystal. You got sharing authority.
All right, here we go. All righty. So there's Q&A already. Oh, there's a Q&A for you, Gilbert. All righty. So welcome, guys. Glad to have you. It is my honor to be here to share with you my area of expertise, which is financial and accounting and bookkeeping and anything financial strategies to help your business grow. This is really where the magic takes place in your business. I know you guys think it's your products and your services, but it is really about where the money is and how the money is being used, and that there is enough money, and you really don't, in some cases you do need infusion of cash, but a lot of times you can make it happen within your business. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is cash flow and how it works in your business, how you can float it in the business, and how you can make sure that your business has everything that it needs. So I am going to proceed. So first I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Mitchell. I'm a business coach and consultant. I am a CEO and manager of my own practice called Mitchell Business Solutions. I am also the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. Many of you know me from there. In addition, I co-host 3 podcasts. One is The Business Zone with Crystal Gilbert, my partner right there. And also which is broadcast live every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. We're always looking for guests and definitely looking for listeners and audience. So just going over to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and we will make sure that you get to tune in every Friday. I also launched during the pandemic another podcast called the Community Business Briefing, or Community Briefings as it's become affectionately known to the community. And it's a platform where all our leaders and stakeholders are invited to speak to you and tell you what's going on in the community, what is happening as it pertains to small business. And these individuals are the ones making decisions on our behalf. So they're sitting at the table. So this is your opportunity to have a conversation with them, to ask them anything that you feel that is that's pertinent, to make sure that you have all the resources that you need for your business. And another podcast that I added on this year is called Conversations on the Patio. And with another colleague of mine, I talk about everything retirement. We talk about it. He's a retirement plan expert, and I kind of speak on the behalf of the entrepreneur and small business owner. In addition to that, if this all wasn't enough work for me, I'm a certified instructor for entrepreneurship for both youth and adult, and I am a former instructor at Mount SAC. I taught an accounting bookkeeping program in the adult education program. So tonight we're going to talk about cash flow and how important it is to the life of your business. But because I introduced myself, I need you guys to introduce yourself, and some of you are already doing that, but I would like for you to go over to Slido. You can do it on your computer, you can do it on your phone, slido.com, or you can take a picture of the QR code and please answer. This is an active survey. What is your business? Thank you, Vanita. I need to know who I'm talking to. I'm a very interactive educator and trainer. I need to kind of have an idea what your business is so I can kind of direct some of my conversations to your business. Or you can put it in the chat if you're trying to figure out how to use Slido. So I think we got a couple of people. We got a women's e-commerce boutique. What else we have? Slido is actually a website. There is no code. It shouldn't have to be a code. Baker, digital marketing, business management company, digital marketing for urban wear. So we got a couple of e-commerce. We have health, chiropractor. We have a baker. What else we got? Plant-based food wellness company. Okay. Pink Petals Nail Bar. Okay. What else we got? Creative Group Management, KWT. AB Unlimited. Roundtree Towing. All righty. Career Leadership Strategist. Peer Support. Accountant. Owner of a transportation company. Blogging. Ooh, I like that. Village Agape, community nonprofit, Ryan's Group Homes, and a new LLC for me. Oh, so that you do. Oh, that's good. I need your information. You do new business entity formation, Impact Enterprise, My Touch Hair Salon. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Deanne. Connect Inc. Sports Brand Development. Fantastic. So each and one of you have a business that you, I assume you've been in business longer than a year. Video photographer. All righty. So it's a wide variety of businesses here. So with that being said, there is not a business that is actually creating revenue and running an operable business where you provide a service or a product for a consumer that you do not have to manage your cash flow. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So there are two. Thank you guys. Appreciate you taking my poll tonight. Business survival. Business survival depends on two factors, two key factors, and that's profitability. And this is important because your business has to generate revenue, which is income, in excess of its expenses incurred in order for you to operate that business. Okay, so that's very important. Your business model has to be of the nature that it can generate a profit, right? And solvency is important because it looks at the ability of your business to meet its financial obligations. So just like at home, your home has to be solvent, and probability of your home income is to make sure your bills are paid for, right? So the same thing in business is the same thing we do in our regular life. We have to have money. It is what generates and creates survival for a business. So in 2020, we all everyone in the entire world was affected by the pandemic, and it turned our world upside down, and we're still reeling from the pandemic. Some of us were able to do a crafty, very strategic pivot, and in some cases, some businesses did very well. But in other cases, there were many businesses that were lost during this time, and then some of us are still struggling. And where we want you to be with all the programs that are with the programs that the Urban League is doing, and multiple other programs that are going on around the country, is to make sure that you get past the survival stage and get back to the thriving stage. So that requires work and commitment and dedication on our side. And it does make work a little bit more, our business is a little bit more challenging, but I know you guys are all up to it, and you're going to partake and make sure you take all advantage of all the opportunities that is there to help you get your business back on point. So another little slide poll. How did the pandemic affect your business? You guys can either go here or just put it in the chat. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you tell me what happened. Did the pandemic affect your business, whether it was for the good or the bad? Everybody did what? Bad? Okay. Devastated, because I do live events. We pivoted. Affected access to affordable housing for our foster care. Okay. Both. Okay, that's good. Maya said both for her. Anyone else? Decrease in decrease in your client revenue. Let's see, we have entertainment. Yes, there was an effect. Okay. So there wasn't too many of us that were able to escape the pandemic. Some of us, though, actually lost 2 major contacts initially, but ultimately grew more later. Okay. So for some of us, most companies, though, we were able to tolerate the upheaval. If you are here today, then in some aspects you did survive. You still may be hanging on by a thread, but you still here, because as we go through this presentation, you will find out that there were many of us that did not make it. So the pandemic posed an unprecedented challenge for most entrepreneurs and small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and in some cases, very large business owners. It decimated some businesses, while others had the ability to pivot their business and their sales soared. I've spoken to both from one extreme to the other extreme throughout the pandemic. I've coached many businesses. Some of you have been some of the businesses that I've coached. Every brand in the business world felt some effect one way or another. And although many of these were able to tolerate it and keep the doors open, there were many that could not. So what separated the survivors from the business casualties? Anyone have an idea? You can throw it in the chat. This is not a poll, this is just a question. Do you guys know what separated the survivors from the business casualties? Cash flow, the ability to pivot or to use resources, SBA loans, financial stability, business structure, cash flow, grant, business model. Exactly. You had to have a strategy. Now, this was not the very first time we suffered a crisis, right? We had another crisis back in 2007, 8, 9, whatever that was, right? And so some of us should have learned at that time, but some of us didn't. We kind of seemed to think that this was a little bit different. But a crisis is a crisis, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the stock market crashing, whether you're living in some other catastrophe that's going on. We have to, with our business, plan for the next crisis, right? We can't just fall apart because there is. So what separated them, it all came down to cash flow, knowing how much cash that was flowing in their business and out of their business, and being able to forecast how much would be moving in and out in the near future was probably the most critical indicator of whether or not a brand would make it. So to say that understanding your cash flow is important is an understatement. It is the life and the death of your business. There is nothing more important to your business survival than its cash flow. you can almost liken it to the blood that flows through your own body. Without that, we don't survive. So the same thing happens for your business. So this is the one area you need to spend a lot of time in. LG says, I'm learning from this crisis. Thank God was much younger in the last one. So thankful to this one. Yeah, that's what these crises are for, to help you become better business people. That's what I say, right? Because you learn from your experiences. So in today's class, webinar, what we're going to learn is, one is an introduction to cash flow and what it is. We're going to understand what a cash flow cycle is and how important it is to the cash that's flowing through your business. We're going to identify some major causes of cash flow problems, and we're going to define strategies to improve that cash flow. And we're going to gain some knowledge on eliminating waste to improve our cash flow, and then learn how to forecast on our cash flow. So the pandemic was just something that happened, but cash flow crises can kill your business at any time. When you first start your business, it can do that, or you could be in business for many, many years, and if the money dries up and the money gets you start having money challenges and you're not able to bring in additional revenue or other resources, then you're going to suffer the same effect that you had in 2020. But you can't blame it on the pandemic. You're going to have to blame it on poor cash flow management. So again, as I said, if you could liken your business to the human body, cash would be the oxygen that transports the blood to every cell of your business. So this is why it's so important to make sure you understand where the cash is, what's helping it flow in, and what's creating it to flow, what's creating the flow out. So without the cash, the business dies a very slow death, and sometimes it can be excruciating. And sometimes we don't know when to throw our hands up and say, hey, I need help, or hey, maybe this business model doesn't work anymore. And we're going to talk about that. Some businesses that are no longer with us, that worked with us prior to the pandemic, and some think that businesses closed because of the pandemic, but in most cases, it wasn't because of that. It was because they were already suffering cash flow problems. So cash flow is the money that is moving into your business and the moving out of your business on a monthly basis. And sometimes it looks like the money is going in one direction, but it does flow in both directions, just sometimes more fluid in one and not in the other. So, and given any given point in time in your business, you will see fluctuations in your cash flow, and that is why you have to become an expert at managing it and recognizing where those specific points time periods are in your business and what you need to do in order to make sure you can sustain the business throughout those times. So cash in, pretty obvious, right? This is the exchange of some product or service that you're providing to a targeted market people that you secure as your actual customers. But if these customers don't pay for your product on time, especially those that provide invoicing and have accounts receivable and do collections, then you will have a cash flow problem. Or if you're not selling enough product, or if you don't have your product priced right. There's so many factors that really can create this problem for you. The cash out is anything that's going out in a form of a payment in your business. So managing your cash flow is vital for your business's survival and growth. And although it sometimes seems that that you have control of it, most of the times we don't, right? So for most businesses, say you have restaurants, and there are a number of you that have food-based businesses, There are some retailers here. Cash is really cash. It's currency and paper coming in. So if you have a business, a cash-based business where you're exchanging the product for the cash, then you have a constant influx of money until you don't have a product to sell. For those of us that are in the service-based business, our money travels a little bit differently, right? Because most of the time we have to invoice for our monies, and then we have to wait for a time frame for that money to come in. So now the key is, how do we manage the money going out during that time while we're waiting for the money to come in? So cash businesses have a special issue with tracking cash flow, but those of us that have to invoice for our work, or we provide the services first and get paid second, then we have to look at our cash flow a little bit different to make sure we have enough money throughout the month in order to take care of our financial obligations, which could include anything from paying our employees, to paying our rent, to keeping our utilities on, to being able to market and service our business, right? So this takes some managing. And so we have to really become great at this, not good at it. We need to become great at that. So measuring the cash flow is important, right? And it's all about the timing. I help clients all the time with their bookkeeping. And I have one client, and he's a nonprofit. He's actually a faith-based organization. And he's been my client for the last, 15 years. And I have always, no matter whether it was at the very beginning when I first started working with him, and he had small amounts of money coming in, this man was an expert at managing his cash. He was able to time his money going out at the same time he had money coming in. I have never, in the 15 years that he's been a client of mine, I have never seen a check bounce in his business. I have never seen him stressed about money. Why? Because the man really knew how to cash. And I always tell him, you really know how to float your money through your business. Now, over the years, his money has been coming steadily increasing, and so now we finally have. And I was so impressed when I did his financials at the end of this year. At the end of the last year, he had a 48% increase in his revenue in the last year. Mainly because he has just been doing this marvelous job of making sure he's tracking every dollar that comes in and tracking every dollar that's gone out. But at the same time, he's increased the number of donations and offerings that he's received on a monthly basis. The pandemic served them very well because they actually took their business on, they took their church online, and now they have a broader a congregation and so much more tithes and offerings coming in on a weekly basis. So think of the cash flow as the picture of your business checking account over time. If your money is coming in and then going out, you're in a positive cash flow situation and you have enough money to pay your bills. If the money is going out, more money is going out than is coming in, then you're in danger of being overdrawn, right? And you need to find money to cover your overdraft. So lack of cash is the biggest reason small businesses fail. It's also the running out of money is a fear that we all have. I was working with a client the other day and helping them get their books together. And they had a fear, and they've been dreading this moment when it would come to a time where they actually had to put an accounting system or a bookkeeping system in place. And the reason she told me was because she was fearful of finding out that her business was not making money. So sometimes we have some psychological stuff that's taking place that we're not even aware of. But I will tell you, you put so much time and you invest so much time and energy and money into your business. You want to make sure that it does survive. So even if your fear of it not surviving is greater than your fear of keeping track of it, then I think you should take the latter. I think you can stop the hemorrhaging before it gets to that place if you just become more proactive and managing it before it even can possibly run out of money. And then all of that time and energy, your dreams and your desires have all been lost just because you procrastinated in one area, which I feel, and I could be a little biased, but I feel is the most important part of your business. And that is managing the financial structure and the financial health and soundness of your business. You guys agree with me?
Yeah.
All right. Right. You didn't work too hard for this, guys. Right? So the key to running your business effectively is learning to balance the timing of the amount of expenses versus the income that you're bringing in. But what happens if there's more money going out than more money coming in? What do you do then, right? Do we panic or do we figure out how we can go about that? But let's look at a business that's a cash-based business. So if I had a fruit stand, in order for me to be in business every single day, I have to go buy the stock from some supplier first thing in the morning. I have to set my stand up, right? I have to pay in order for my stand to be there, in addition to paying for my supplier. So when I go to this process, I should have in the back of my mind, or actually in the front of my mind, one, how much money do I need to make today? Does anyone have any idea how much money they make per day? Yes? Okay, Keith says he does, right? So the first thing you need to know is, these are my expenses for the day. So even if you don't have a fruit stand, even if you are working at home and your business is e-commerce, you still have expenses that are taking place behind the scenes, right? So you need to know per day, not only how much money is coming in, but you also have to know how much money is coming out for that day. And the margin above that is actually your profit. So first thing I need to know is, am I going to be able to break even, right? That's the very first thing I need to do. And how many services or product do I need to sell in order to make sure that I break even every day, right? And then I'm going to assess that at the end of the month and make sure. But I need to know how many products or services that I do need to sell in order to break even. So that's something we have to talk about. And those are the things that you learn about when you actually have an accounting system in place, because it can give you that information. You can do an analogy of and analyze your profit and loss statement, or your daily sales statement and your daily expense statement, to find out exactly if you broke even. Now, if throughout the month we have more days that we break even, then more than likely we're going to have a profit at the end of the month. But however, if we are in the negative cash flow for majority of the month, what's going to happen to us, right? We're not going to have enough money, enough cash in the business. The bills can't get paid. This generally spells trouble for the business, and the company will be forced out of business. Now, even in this circumstance, we need to know, how long can we survive this? What is our burn rate? How long can we go without being able to staying in the negative cash flow? So all of this information helps you stay focused so that you can shore up the gap in your strategy and in your business before it becomes uncontrollable, right? So you can't overlook it. You have to really get in there and find out what's going on. And we're going to learn tools as to what you need to do once you do recognize that you have a major problem. So one of those is the cash flow cycle, or actually the cash conversion cycle. It's one of the ways that you can measure the management effectiveness, right? It measures how fast the company can convert cash on hand into more cash on hand. The conversion cycle, the cash conversion cycle, does this by allowing the cash or the capital investment as it is first converted into inventory. So now this is really more about those of us that have inventory, right? And then being able to manage our accounts payable and our accounts receivable. This is just making sure that we have a hands-on to everything that's happening in both of those areas, right? So generally, the lower the number for your cash flow cycle, the better it is for your company. Companies with low cash flow conversion cycle, the conversion cycle, are often the companies with the best management. These are the individuals that are on top of their cash flow. They never take their eyes off of it. Why? Because it's the survival, it's the life flow of your business, right? But if you provide services as opposed to products to your clients, you can't really use this formula for you. What you need to do is to make sure you understand the timing of your invoices and making sure that you're establishing that there's money coming in, even though you're on you might be on an accounts receivable type of or a cash accrual type of platform. You still have control over that, right? You can make sure in your contracts that you are the one dictating when you get paid, right? This is an agreement between you and your client. So, but you have to know when you need that money. If more money comes out of your business at the first of the month, then you want to make sure that the timing is right, and the timing of your invoices and the payment of those invoices need to come in staggered throughout the month, so that it's always there for your business. And if it doesn't come in when it's supposed to, based upon your contract, then now you got to stay on top of that. Now you have to become the collector. And some cases we have to be very aggressive about collecting our money, because you have to use it in order to take care of your businesses. So cash inflows are your cash sales if you're in a cash-based business, your accounts receivable if you're in an accrual business, right? The sales of fixed assets, creating additional revenue streams, which I'm really big on. Being able to have, yes, you will get copies of the presentation. Having capital that can be invested into the business in the event that you are running short of working capital. But even then, you have to think that out as well. Interest payments, bank loans, lines of credit, and personal loans. These are the available cash inflows that can come into your business to keep it alive. The outflows are the payments that we have to make to our suppliers, the wages and salaries we have to make, the operating expenses in order to keep our businesses flowing and operational, payments for fixed assets, interest on loans and overdrafts, dividends paid to our shareholders if you happen to be a publicly traded company, and repayment of loans and taxes on your profit. So just as good cash flow keeps the business afloat, poor cash flow can sink it. So good cash flow is one of the most important aspects of building a healthy business. And it's often cited that cash flow problems are a major contributor to the failure, as we have said, to most small business. So there's no denying how important it is to make sure that you're managing the cash flow and that it does not become an afterthought. Because if it does become an afterthought, is going to be the beginning of the death of something that you've worked hard for and you've invested a lot of time and energy into it. So every business has an ebb and a flow, right? So you have to know when that is, right? So I talk to clients all the time, and because I help clients, I have clients that I do bookkeeping services for, and also I teach clients how to manage their own. I can look at your financial statements and determine whether you're in trouble and you have a cash flow program problems that require fixing, or you're on point and your business is your financial structure is healthy. But most of us as business owners, we don't know when that is, or we don't look at our reports on a regular basis so it can tell us exactly how and what we need to do to keep our business moving forward with adequate cash flow. So I look at a client and I can tell immediately from your financial statement, what are your peaks and your valleys, right? When do you make the most money? When you make the least amount of money? When does your expenses go up? The month that your expenses go up, and when do you have lower expenses, which really can help you gauge how you're managing that, right? So a lot of us probably know when we have our peaks when it comes to inflow coming in. But do you guys know when your expenses peak? Does anybody know exactly when they're peak? Throughout the year, when their expenses peak? You might have an idea. So Mo says at the end of the year, usually in the summer, at the beginning of the year. Okay, yeah, mine does a crazy thing in the beginning of the year. So Mo and Marcus, do you plan at the last quarter of the year because you know the first quarter is going to be a slow period for you? Okay, exactly. So that's what you have to do. So that's why you have to be reviewing on a regular basis. So for November, December, right? So you have to plan for that, right? But here's something I want to say to you guys. If you're in business for yourself and you are running a business, you don't want to take from your profit in order to keep the business running. You want to be able to address that peak. You want to be able to address the lows in the income and create another revenue stream that will make up that gap, right? So that you yourself are not taking from your profits in order to shore that up. Because you could be doing that to fix a problem, a cash flow problem. That's not just something that happens one time. That's usually ongoing for a while. So you're really pulling from the business as opposed to shoring up the major problem that's creating this gap in your business, right? So we sometimes think, oh, well, I got it. I have it in my savings. I'll put it back. But then when you're taking it from your savings, aren't you taking it from your family? Aren't you now creating a cash flow deficit in your own personal life? So you want to make sure that you understand where are the problems and how do I address these problems? So here's some of the major main causes of cash flow problems. When you first start your business, you are understating the startup costs, right? And which means that your business is already, you're undercapitalized, because that's the case of most small businesses when they first start up, is that you're undercapitalized. So you create an understatement in the very beginning. So you're already starting out with on a rocky road, right? Expecting profitability to happen real quick, and that can happen, but more than likely it won't. But assuming that you have the best business in the entire world and that everybody's going to be flocking to you in order to buy soon as you hit the door. Now, you may not have had a marketing plan or a marketing strategy or outreach, and nobody knows your brand even exists, but you feel so confident in the business that you created that everybody's going to be flocking to buy your business, to buy from you, right? So expecting more profitability than actually is going to happen in reality. Not creating a cash flow budget, overlooking high overhead expenses, not collecting your receivables, growing too quickly. And yes, that is a problem. You can definitely grow too quickly, and then having low profit margins, which is really based upon the product not being priced properly. So let me tell you about the growing too quickly. So there's a young lady about 2 years ago that created a skincare line, and she did extremely well. Her marketing was on point. She did the right moves of acquiring an ambassador to help her sell her product. She created this exclusiveness about her business. So, and you guys may have heard of this or read this on in social media. So she sold her product, and the very first time she sold the product, she sold out in 8 minutes. She made about $1.3 million, which sounds absolutely fantastic, right? But she sold out of all of her products. So now she had to go back to production. It took her about 6 months in order to get her product back in stock. And so the next time she did that, she did it around the holiday time. She did real well at that time as well. But what happened in that 6 months while people were waiting for her to go back into production, she lost clients. And so the second go round was not as favorable as the first go round. So you want clients that are coming to you consistently. Clients don't want to wait for months and years in order to get whatever they're buying from you. So if you have clients at this level, then you need to be able to meet them at this level while you have that gap, right? Because if not, you're going to lose them. So growing too quickly is not always the best answer. It sounds like it would be fantastic, but it's not. You want to have a business that's moving slow and steady and consistent, right? People, your consumers, your customers want to know that you're going to be here tomorrow, that you're not a one-hit wonder. And so you want to build your business with consistency for long-term success, right? So when you open your doors, we're all hoping that clients are going to be lining up to purchase from us. That's our goal. But there's a survey that was done by Cashbased that found that 84% of business owners reach profitability within the first 4 years of their business, and 68% reach profitability within the first year. It takes time to build a profitable business, and nearly 1/3 of the businesses won't hit that milestone in the very first year. It will take time for you to get there, okay? And you want it to take time. You don't want to rush things. You want to be able to build that momentum so that your customers will be there for you, because you want loyal customers that are going to keep returning. It's so much easier to sell to a returning customer than to put all the time and energy and money, and it's a lot less expensive being able to bring in brand new customers every single month. You want your returning customers, and you want those returning customers to become your ambassadors and go out, and your fan club, and go out and tell the world that you are in business and you're providing this amazing product with this amazing value proposition for them to keep coming back to you. So these are the major causes, some of the major causes of being successful. Now, what happens when you fail, right? So as I said before, these are the statistics of that. And so even during major downturns, this did not affect the survival rate of new businesses, right? Because new businesses are unique all by themselves. You don't have traction. You don't have a loyal customer base. So a pandemic comes along or some critical crisis comes along, you're going to have problems just because you already had problems before this happened, right? And you haven't really made your mark, and you don't have a solid foundation, right? You're still building that foundation. But there are businesses that over the years, as we have seen of late, have been closing, and the pandemic wasn't the reason they closed. The reason they closed is many reasons, right? Sometimes the business model doesn't work anymore. Sometimes they've expanded too quickly, and they found that their research wasn't right on point, and that certain stores were creating a problem for the low producing stores, was creating a deficit for the higher producing stores. And so those high producing stores are taking care of the low producing. So in some cases, this is what's happening. Businesses are now looking at their numbers. They're analyzing, okay, wait, we're not breaking even over here. We haven't broken even for months, right? So now our successful stores, especially if it's a chain, we're taking care of those stores. We have to cut the bleed, right? We have to analyze it, make sure that we can move those customers to another store, but we know we're going to continue to lose money, right? That's some of the reasons. Now, there's disruption. If your business model is outdated, your products no longer have value on the street, then you need to stop, look at it, analyze the industry, analyze your competitors to make sure that your business is still viable, right? And that maybe you need to make some adjustments. Maybe you need to add to your product line to make sure that, or change or tweak, or do your SWOT analysis to make sure that your business, there is customers for the product that you're providing, right? Making sure that you're solving somebody's problem, someone's pain point, filling a niche in the marketplace, or an unmet need. So even though you've been in business for a long time, even seasoned business owners have to go back and on a regular basis evaluate whether or not your business model is really working, right? Because that's another reason why you get a reduction in sales or you stay stagnant, right? If your business is staying stagnant, then you need to really take a look at why it's stagnant and what you need to do about it, okay? So again, business closures, some of these closures were going to happen regardless, right? Even before the pandemic. The pandemic closures affected restaurants and retail stores, small businesses, and some schools. The pandemic, we found out, was not as bad as we thought, right? The economists have done some analysis and some studies, and it shows that yes, about 60% of the businesses closed during the pandemic, and that are permanent. Probably those permanent businesses were businesses that were already hanging on, as we talked about, but over the 10 months, they realized that it wasn't as bad as we initially anticipated it. was going to be, it has dragged on for well over 24 months. So now people, with the help of all of the PPP loans, the EIDL loan, PPP grants, and all the other money that's been out there, a lot of businesses have been able to survive. So if you guys, any of you got that money, I hope you use that money not just to shore up the lack of income, the revenue that you had coming in, but also have used some of that money to create new revenue streams for yourself, new ideas, invested in not just new products, maybe new ideas, marketing, anything that can help your business now go from surviving, because that's where we are in survival mode, to thriving mode. So if you did get some unexpected grant money, right, then yes, great to pay the bills, the utilities, but could you also use that money in order to learn a new skill, acquire a consultant that can help you move your business, move the mark, or develop a new product line? So I hope that we were able to do that. So one of the things that we did find out that over 200,000 businesses have closed permanently since the pandemic began. But what that says to me is that means there are new opportunities out there for us to look at in order to meet and solve some new problems within the scope of the business of the services or the product that we provide. That's what I look at. I see this as an opportunity, right? So even though we had problems prior, now I see this as an opportunity to really take your business to that next level, to really scale that business. I see us now realizing that the pandemic did open our eyes and realize that things can happen, and those things can really shape how we do business. They can keep us in business, or they can take us out of business. I would hope that we would use this time to look at how we can develop new opportunities, increase new revenues, bring in and provide and create new revenues, products that will generate new revenue streams for our business. And I would also would like us to look at, what do we need to do to be better prepared for the next time? What do we need to have in place? And this is a good time we can do that. This is like a redo, right? The redo button has been, we hit that redo button, and we now can take out time, because we're still not operating at our highest level, right? We still have some support. The Urban League has programs, a number of the SBA has programs. So we still have time to now look at, what does the next 5 years look like for our business, the next 10 years look like for our business, and how can I use this time right now to help me be ready for the next time, right? So the first thing we need to make sure is that there is cash in place, right? That we have cash that can make sure that we have a large fluctuation in cash, so that our businesses are not vulnerable for the next crisis, because there will be the next crisis, okay? So there's an additive that we use in our world is cash is king, right? Cash is what keeps our businesses going, what helps us grow our business, what helps us scale our business, which keeps our personal lives intact, so that we can not just make enough money to pay for our bills, but we can make enough money to create a profit. And I think small businesses, and I say this to my clients all the time, I think small businesses should start thinking like big businesses. I think small businesses, and I tell my new business owners that are just starting a business, find a business that is extremely successful in the industry that you're going into, and watch and monitor, research, and study that business to see exactly how they got to where they are, right? Use them as a role model for you to grow your business. So even those of us that are seasoned businesses, look at other individuals that are doing, or other businesses that are doing the same business that you're doing, and start to study them. And in some cases, reach out to them. I mean, LinkedIn makes that possible for all of us to not think of them as competitors, but think of them as maybe they will mentor me to help me grow my business like they grew theirs. Most people find that to be a compliment if they come to you and you come to them and ask them, how did you get your business to this level? How did you get your business from 1 employee to 500 employees? How do you get your business to become a multi-million-dollar conglomerate? How did you get your business and take it public? How did you do that? Because my little business here, I have these big aspirations for them, but I don't know what the steps are. Can you help me discover those steps? Because that takes us out of survival mode into thrive mode. So we should be thinking big business right now. We should be thinking, how can we create a situation that you can deal with your cash flow issues? You have solutions for those cash flow issues. You have ways to make sure that the next disaster that comes along, you're going to be that business that's going to be in the successful mode, that pivoted and their sales skyrocketed, right? I remember when we were first in that mode in 2020, and the only businesses that I could see that was doing that visibly from my community that was doing extremely well, that pivoted very well, was the supermarket, because we all have to eat. So that is a problem and a pain point that every one of us has. The Home Depot, the Lowe's. Why? Because people had plenty of time on hand, and they were fixing that, and they were fixing up everything. Or they're like myself and my sister, we actually started our garden, so a lot of our money was going to the garden centers, because it gave us plenty. We had a lot of time on our hands, right? So we were able to invest in projects during that time. So these are, even in your business, I remember reading a story about Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett, only his businesses and his investments are all products or services that people have to have, that people will invest in because it's a must-have. And so everything he has is a must-have. The railroads, toilet paper, paper products. These are things that we as everyday consumers, we buy every single day, right? So find some aspect of your business that is a must-have for a particular target market that you can reach out to and then convert to be your customer. Everyone has to have a must-have. Back during 2002, when we had our last another crisis, I was working for companies and people were being laid off left and right. And I thought, I need a recession-proof skill that no matter what is going on in this world, I can always make money in this field. So I discovered that the one recession-proof skill for me was bookkeeping, because no matter what happens in this world, as long as there's a business and they have an open door and they are receiving money and they are paying bills, they need some sort of accounting system or a bookkeeper that's going to maintain that. So that's what I did. I went back to school, I acquired that skill, and so whenever there's a turn in the marketplace, that's usually the skill I usually come back to. Even in the pandemic, the very first thing that I did when in March was, by April 1st, I think we went dark. We went in a quarantine on March 19th, I believe. I had, by the end of the month, a class on how to learn how to use an accounting software. I have two of them, one free, one not. And I made sure that the businesses that had to be able to produce a profit and loss statement knew how to do that. Either they were going to pay me to do that, or they were going to pay to learn how to do that. So that was that little skill that's in my bag of tricks. I pull it out whenever I need to. So I hope you guys have a skill set that is recession proof, that you can always make money in it, because there's always going to be a need for it, right? So that during that time, I had money. I had money to take care of my financial obligations. And throughout the pandemic, I had money to take care of because there was a need for it, right? Lack of cash strategy could really bring your company down. And that's the truth, guys. And you guys know this because you've been in business. I'm sure many of you have been in business longer than 2-3 years. And that lack of cash it will kill your business. It will stress you out. And it is very difficult to do business when you're stressed. So when you're on top of that, no matter what kind of product you're offering, no matter who is interested in it, you have to maintain the cash flow in your business. So developing a strategy has to be high on your priority list, and being able to figure out how to fix those problems, it should be high on your priority list, right? Okay, what's happening? Stuck. Okay, so now there are some businesses that we know have cash flow just by the nature of cash flow issues, just by the nature of the business they're in. Seasonal businesses, because they usually have high revenue in their peak season, and they have low revenue in their rest season. Restaurants, because mainly restaurants have very small profit margins, and they're high on labor. So your labor costs are fixed costs, and in order to reduce that cost, you have to eliminate a body. When you eliminate that body, now you eliminate the potential of increased production of your product. So it's kind of a catch-22 kind of situation, right? Startup, usually because you're undercapitalized in the very beginning, and you don't normally have enough money to pay for your expenses. Also, your pricing is off, right? Because you don't know, because you're new, you have no traction. You don't know what the market can stand. You don't have the confidence in your customers because you're just acquiring those customers. Tech businesses and contract businesses, that those of us that work on projects, because of the accounts receivable, if we're not staying on top of that, we may have problems getting our money in when we need it in order to pay for our operating expenses. And if you don't do your due diligence and make sure the companies that you're partnering with on these projects, understanding and knowing a little bit about their financial wellness and soundness, it also could be a problem, because if they can't pay you because they also have cash flow problems, then it's a trickle-down effect, right? Domino effect. It's going to roll over to you because they're waiting to get paid from someone else. So you really, not all contracts are good contracts. So you really, truly need to do your due diligence. And then, of course, builders and construction companies have problems because of you got to finish a project, and there's a lot of downtime getting plans approved. You have other entities that control how that takes place. So there's a lot of external factors that keep slow the money up. And so those are the types of companies that really have a cash flow issue, and they really have to have a strategy in order to make sure that they have the revenue that they need in order to take care of their expenses. So having a strategy is really important. And So let's talk about how do you achieve that strategy? How do you improve your cash flow? So one, if you're in a sales related checklist is increase sales, particularly those involving your cash payment. So how do you increase those sales? What do you need to do in order to do that? Sometimes increasing prices, especially with your slow payers, right? Recognizing who your customers are, whether or not you should, for those of you that offer credit to your customers, or if you're in a service-based or contractual business, really thinking about the terms that you set. So maybe maybe the traditional 30 doesn't work for your business, or if that's the terms of the contract, then making sure, as I said earlier, you set those terms based upon when you need cash flow in your business. Then you stay on top of that, right? Reviewing the payment performances of your customers. So making sure that you stay on top of your receivables, right? Becoming more selective when granting credit and reducing prices or providing discounts, making sure that you know, is this a peak time for my expenses? Then maybe I don't want to offer too many discounts. Or if I'm going to offer discounts, I need to be able to increase the volume of people coming in to my door that month. So recognizing what the ebbs and the lows are in your business and being able to address that when you're making your sales or when you're contracting or signing contracts. For big jobs, for me, I always take a 50% deposit. So, and I've been burnt a number of times in my career where I've done all this work and then all of a sudden something twists or turns, and now my cash flow is suffering from that. So taking deposits or multiple stage payments, sometimes that helps, right? Instead of trying to get the whole payment, just let them give it to you again when you need it, because it's about your business, when you need it in order to meet your obligations, your financial obligations, right? Again, reduce the amount of time of credit given to customers for those of you that do that, because that can really hurt your business, right? Be really careful about that. Make sure prepay only. Okay, John says they do prepay only. Sometimes that's depending on the product, the service that you're doing. Sometimes you got to operate like that, especially in a consulting type of business, a service type of business. You know, a lot of times we feel, hey, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We figure we can trust everybody, but at the end of the day, when it's time for you to pay your bills, you have to have money. You have to have cash flow to do that. Okay. Next is the accounts receivable management. This is really important. Making sure that you bill as soon as the work has been completed and the order fulfilled, right? Ginger says, I always do a deposit and final. Cash flow is important to me unless it's a monthly retainer. Exactly. Making sure sometimes, because if you don't have an accounting system, sometimes invoicing can be a little challenging. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but make sure you're billing as soon as the work has been done. I generate my invoice up front based upon what I know. You know, after I've been doing this for such a long time, what I do, I know exactly what that looks like. So it depends on the services that I offer. I have different payment plans that are in place. Generating regular reports on your accounts receivable ratios and aging, making sure that you are on top of that, establishing and adhering to sound credit practices, train your staff, using more proactive collection techniques, adding late payment charges or fees where possible, or offering discounts if people will pay you earlier, right? Making sure the money is going to come in. We are a friend of mine. A friend of mine told me one time, we in business to make money. We can be as completely in love with what we do, but bottom line is, you want to be paid for the services that you or products that you're producing and providing, right? That's your value, and your customers' respect of your value is to pay you on time. Okay. And the same for you, to be able to pay your suppliers and your financial people on time, right? So this was important and big. Eliminating excess inventory and reducing expenses, right? So don't overproduce products. Don't keep products and then keep the cost of that down. So you should be looking at your supplier reports and making sure that if the prices have gone up, you got to figure out how to make that adjustment. A lot of times that goes back to has to be pushed back to the customer. So looking at your product, making sure you're not producing too much, making sure things are not sitting or spoiling or wasting or collecting dust on a shelf. Overturn inventory if you're a product-based business, and if you're a product e-commerce product-based business, now you can do on demand, so you don't even have excess product. Having multiple supply vendors available to you, negotiating with those individuals, especially if you're bringing a lot of business to them, regulating the flow of your your product production, regular reports of your inventory, making sure that it's moving and keeping track of what's moving and what's not moving. If it's not moving, maybe it's time to pull it off, or maybe it's time to create a sale, or maybe some kind of campaign around it to get it moving. Sometimes we have a huge menu of products and services. Some don't sell at all. So, but you're marketing for all of them. So that means you're putting money out there somewhere, right? But reduce that. Reduce your variable expenses so that you have more money, more cash flow in movement, right? So adopt best practices for accounts payables. Don't rely too much on your error-prone manual processes. So this is where I get to do my soapbox about having an accounting system. Really important. Use of purchase orders so you can track, so you're not wasting. Have review those purchase orders and invoices. Don't neglect to take advantage of volume rebates and trade incentives. Sometimes that works. Regular review of your accounts receivable report. Know exactly how much you have to pay out before you have to pay it out. And also remember to take in consideration those things that are on automatic payment, right? So because we do a lot of things digitally, sometimes we're spending a whole lot of money on something that we set up years ago and we then totally forgot about it. And because it's happening digitally, and it's happening, it's a reoccurring expense. We're not looking at our monies going out, right? So I think I remember one time, and I don't even know how this happened, but I was paying $9.99 to Vistaprint for a website. I have never had a website with Vistaprint ever, and I'm like, what is this charge, right? So being able to go back and look at your bank statement and review what's happening there. If you are doing your bookkeeping, that's happening every single month. Somebody, either you or a bookkeeper, is doing it. When they provide you with the report, ask that they teach you how to read it. Ask that they show you how to use the system, because if you're using an online product, maybe sometimes you just want to go in and run your own report. You might have some downtime, but make sure that the person that you're hiring or to do that is in showing you how to read it. It's not their book, it's your book. So your having hands-on involvement in that process is vitally important to making sure that you're resolving your cash flow roller coaster, right? So every business wants to increase its profits, but most business owners believe that the best way to do that is by increasing sales. The reality is that you can increase your profit margin by reducing your variable costs. By taking a closer look at your business operations, you will identify ways to lower the variable cost and boost your bottom line. That's why in order to increase sales, there is usually a corresponding increase in cost because of the increased amount of work involved. So to increase profits quickly without increasing sales, reduce the expenses, especially your variable costs, right? I had a client that I had been doing her book for years. And then a couple of years ago, she asked me if I could show her what I do. And yeah, subscriptions eat up a lot of money monthly, streaming, newspapers, all of that stuff. So I showed her how to do her book. And so she, in turn, really adapted to it. And what she did was she was able to, and this has been over a 3-year period, we've been going through this. Now I'm more of a consultant. I come back and I review at the end of the month, I review her financials, making sure everything is in the proper place. And at the end of the year, I review her overall. So, but she started doing her month to month, and she was able to pay off credit cards. She paid off her car. She increased her emergency fund. She is now working on her retirement fund. She is completely debt-free just by simply taking over that task herself. She realized how much money she was burning in the subscriptions that she didn't even know was there. When I was doing her book, we just reviewed it. I didn't know whether she was using it or not. She realized that she wasn't using a lot of those subscriptions that she had, and so she started eliminating them. And that money that she opened up, she then started applying it to pay off her credit card debt. So today she's no longer in credit card debt. She has her contingency fund. She has her year emergency fund, and now we're working on funding her retirement fund, her retirement plan, and buying income property for her. So and her business has grown. I think this year her revenues have increased about 68%. She now has 4 employees, so now she can generate more revenue just because she now has more help. And so that was the best thing that could have happened. So now to reduce those expenses, the areas we can't reduce are our fixed expenses. These are costs that are set usually by some sort of contractual agreement. So your rent, insurance, utilities, salaries, advertising. So fixed costs can change over a period of time, but they don't change, and you usually can't change them once you put them in place. Variable costs, though, you can. These are directly related to your business activity. So hourly wages, office expenses, legal fees, those are things. Oh, and fixed costs of taxes. You can't change that either. And then, of course, your production costs. And you can make changes in your raw materials, the packaging. You can look and see, as I said earlier, identifying other suppliers that can actually keep your costs down. So these are the things that you want to look at. Now, once we've done that and identified that, that means that we want to do some budgeting, right? Nobody likes the budget, but it is what we have to do. So we have another way to resolve that roller coaster is to create that emergency fund. You want to have money that you're not taking out of your own personal household in order to be available for the business itself. So putting excess cash into a savings account or a money market account that is there just for those lean times can really help you avoid having to borrow during those times, right? Because you're very vulnerable to those times. These things are now in your control. And so you want to really look at that. So if you go back and look and see what the excess waste is, you can now take that money and now start to save that in your emergency fund. So the next crisis that comes along, you can at least make sure that the basic operating expenses are taken care of, and they won't prevent you from you will prevent yourself from going out of business or stagnating or killing your cash flow, right? So if 2020 has taught us nothing else, it certainly has taught us how important emergency funds are for our business as well as our personal life. Fires, floods, riots, pandemic, it doesn't really matter what the crisis is. These are some of the things that we all have experienced in 2020. So being prepared the next time is the best advice I can give to anyone, is making sure that you're prepared for wherever that looks like, right? So the benefits of an emergency fund is security. You can still pay your bills during this critical time. Your savings remain untouched. So therefore, because your household will go through some critical changes as well. So you want to plan for the future, right? So you want to, so that's again why we have an accounting system, because we can go back and look at the historical data and we can decide what we can put in, what our budget will look like for the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, right? We're not caught unaware of what our business responsibilities or our financial responsibilities are. There is no predicting the next disaster, but you can plan for it. So aside from having a little less money to put back into your business, setting up an emergency fund really offers you a lot of benefits, and it will provide you with a lot less sleepless nights if you have an emergency fund available. Remember, these emergencies are going to come in all shapes and sizes and forms, and can be anything from a natural disaster to sudden illness, a fire, anything. It doesn't really matter. It's an emergency, right? So emergencies, and usually emergencies come when you least expect it. So while our immediate response to an emergency is to lose control and start to stress, but we don't have to do that when we put a contingency plan in place or an emergency fund, because we know it is there for us. So, but we have to plan for it, right? So we have to determine what is the amount that we're going to need. Where are you going to keep that emergency fund? It should not be where it's easily accessible. It should be in some account that you have to go through some effort to get to, because it's easy just to go over there when it's not an emergency and pull from it. You want it to be there when you need it, and deposit into it regularly. If your cash flow situation is typical, create a yearly budget to see how much cash you will need each month to pay your recurring bills. Then build that savings from the higher cash months to see how much you will need. The hardest part of building your business emergency fund is determining how much should be there. So you have to go back and look at your business. You have to look at how you spend money. You have to look how the money comes in and how the money goes out. So now you make educated decisions about this plan, and make sure you understand it's important to have this budget and to have this emergency fund. So forecasting our so you can get all, you have your budget, that you do business with. Now, those of us that have nonprofit organizations, this is how we do business, right? Every program, every service that we provide is backed up with a budget. But in service, in for-profit businesses, we usually don't have budgets. So we want to create a budget, marketing budget, really important, right? Taxes, preparing for our taxes, making sure that we're not having to come up with a large sum at the end of the year, or at the end of the year, we actually know what that looks like, right? So keeping a budget that can give you a snapshot of your financial performance of your business compared to whatever the forecast is, and then balancing it against your forecast and the actuals. So looking at last year's performance, last year's production costs, last year's overhead expenses, and creating a forecast with an increase based upon what's going on economically in our world, so that you will be ready for whatever's going to happen, making sure we take into consideration those ebbs and those lows, right? Now, once you get that wonderful accounting system in place, now you can actually get receive a cash flow statement, and it can kind of show you the ups and downs, and you can even creates graphs and charts so that you will understand what's happening with the cash flow in your business. Okay, the structure of a cash flow statement is all operating cash that's coming in, and for your operating activities, if you happen to have investors in your business, and then any financial activities that are happening. So if you actually have to receive loans, or you invest, or somebody else invests in your business, and then the monies that are coming in from your cash flow. Now, this one's important. Being able to, if in the event you have these cash flow problems, now being able to identify that, hey, I need to create some additional revenue streams to come in. I need to create a new product. I need a product line, or add some services. You guys can consult. You can sit down with your team, or you can acquire a coaching or consultant team that can help you come up with new ideas for business lines or product lines or services that can pick up the slack during those low cash months, right? Or those high expense months. So that's one way. Another way is acquiring a line of credit so that you can acquire a working capital for your business, right? And then also considering other lending bank options, loans and things like that. But you still need a very strategic plan, both for the line of credit and for the lending operation. You don't just want to just go get money from the bank, because you got to pay them back. So you want to make sure that when you are looking at that loan, you really are analyzing to make sure what you're going to do with that loan, what are going to be the terms of that loan. Do you have the money to pay them back? They're not going to lend it to you if they don't see that up front in your taxes and in your financial report. But making sure you know exactly what you're going to do with that loan, not getting too much. That's going to create another cash flow problem for your business, but making sure that you're going to use that loan to help you increase more revenue. That's the reason why we get loans. Finally, my favorite part of my presentation, all of my presentations ends up here, being able to have an accounting system that can manage your finances and give you at a glance everything that you need to show how your business is performing, what are your ebbs and your lows, what are your cash flow issue problems, can they be fixed? So the only way to do that is to have a system, not a spreadsheet, not an Excel spreadsheet, but an actual system that can produce reports that is managed and maintained on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. Okay? So, in summary, we need a bookkeeping system. Bookkeeping matters, right? It's the simplest way to understand your financial transactions in your business, and you can't run a business without it. Many of you do, but you can't. Trust me. Lines of credit can help, right? But making sure why you're getting that, making sure you have the credit, making sure you are bank loan ready. So that some of the things that some of you guys have taken an assessment and you've turned some of your no's into yeses, but that's the process, is making sure you're business ready, bank loan ready, and contract ready. Generating cash flow statements, analyzing that cash flow, figuring out whether you need to increase your cash flow, cut expenses where you need to, speed up getting your accounts receivable in the house, in-house, and rinse and repeat, doing this each and every month. This is how you need to look at your business. And it's not on here, but looking at your business with a bigger lens, making sure that the business has the capability to scale. So with that, I am done. And it's been great. And if you guys need to reach out to me, that's my contact information. You can also follow me on social media. A lot of this I talk about every week with Gilbert on the Business Zone. And I teach lots of classes everywhere around. And I do teach some QuickBooks training classes. So if you guys are interested, let me know. I have one coming up, I think, next month. So, all right, Gilbert, it's back to you.
Thank you, Crystal. Crystal, as usual, is phenomenal. And every time I sit in on our class, it's like, wow, I'm learning more things here. So this is just amazing. And one thing I must say, Crystal, your presentations are just phenomenal. I love them. I don't know. You use slide.com, right? That's what you use?
That's my new, I love tech stuff, right? I'm a geek. I'm a secret geek.
Yeah.
Tech geek. So I'm always looking for new tools.
You are a tech ninja. That's what you are. Unbelievable. So first of all, let me ask you guys this. If you have any questions for Crystal before I give you guys a little wrap up here and cover some other areas. So I think Ginger doesn't have a question. She said, thank you, Crystal.
Oh, you're welcome, Ginger.
Let me look at the chat first of all to see if there's any questions in here.
Well, let's see, there is one question. What if you don't see a business model that looks like yours to replicate? Should I then look at a few business models and reach out to more than one? Yes, and Renee, you can schedule some time with me and maybe we can sit down and see why your business model doesn't look like it's out there for you.
Okay, perfect. I think this makes an excellent segue into what I was going to say, because next week's class, we're going to cover best practice compliance in your business. And in that class, we're going to go over business models. I'm going to work with you guys in creating your business model. Some of you may say you already have a business model, but we're gonna do something from scratch. We're gonna do from new. Now, Crystal mentioned early that you need to rinse and repeat. Did you guys remember that on our presentation slide? It says rinse and repeat. So what I also want you guys to do, I want you guys to rinse and start anew. Rinse and start anew because of this pandemic. Pandemic has been toxic for all of us. So I want you guys to rinse your business, and I want you to start anew, because the style and approaches that we're providing you guys, it's not brand new, but it's going to help you guys to redo your strategy. Okay. So we're going to do business model next week, and it's a different approach to running your business. It's a model where we're going to cover 9 areas of your business in a 360-degree manner. That means when we cover those 9 areas, Those 9 areas will cover all of your business, every aspect of your business. And Crystal also indulges in some of the business model approach too. So if you guys happen to meet with her, and some of you will, because I can't do the one-on-ones all by myself. So Crystal is one of the counselors, and Gloria June is another counselor. So we can schedule some meetings with Crystal and also with Gloria and even myself. So we can get to all of you guys. Okay. So I want to go over a little list here. First of all, is there, other than Jeffrey Hubbard, is there any other barbers or hairstylists on this call? Any barbers, hairstylists, other than Jeffrey? So I want you to put your information in the chat if you are. And the reason I'm asking if there are barbers and hairstylists, we have an opportunity to invite you for a grant. The grant is only for $1,000, Los Angeles Urban League, partnering with the Super Bowl. And they're looking for barbers. They're looking for 3 barbers and 3 hairstylists. So if there's any of you on here other than Jeffrey, because I'm going to reach out to Jeffrey as well, just put your contact information. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey, you two put your contact information in this chat for me, so I can reach out to you guys. And maybe what we can do after the class this evening is to, after everyone leaves, I can talk to all of you guys about how to prepare for that that grant. The $1,000, not much, but it can help your business. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to go over, as you guys know, we're going to be covering how to establish business credit. So that will happen real soon. And Crystal may be a part of that as well, because she's a financial guru here on cash flow and financial statements. So she will really help out with this. But we're going to have another expert come in and talk about credit. So that class we will schedule. It's to be determined. It's not on our calendar. It's not on our schedule, but it's to be determined. Another thing I want to say is it is mandatory for all of you guys to attend these classes every week. Mandatory. Because the only thing we're asking you for is your time. We're not asking you to pay for these classes. And behind the scenes, even though you don't know this, we are doing a lot to help your business grow. That's why I said I want you to rinse and renew. Rinse and renew. Wash off all that toxic stuff from the pandemic so we can start your business anew. All the strategies and style we're sharing with you is going to be a revamping of your business. So you're getting this stuff for free. I mean, others would pay a lot of money for this. People have these classes at Pepperdine University and USC, and they pay a whole lot. You guys are getting this for free. So we just need you to be committed to be here every week. And at the end, you're going to get a certificate showing that you committed. So we're going to have this coming up. You will also receive a recording of tonight's class. Okay. So whatever Crystal went over, it's being recorded, and we will send that recorded to all of you who are on here. Now, please make sure that we have your email address. I know some of you registered, some of you had some difficulties in registering. If you having any difficulties, or if you had some difficulties, send me an email with your correct information, your contact info, your company's name, phone number, and your email. I also want to check our system at the Urban League to make sure you guys are in the system, because that's going to help us. Some of you are in the system, but you've been in there for a long time. So the information is old, so we need to kind of update that information as well. So that can be done in a lot of different ways. It can be done by you doing your one-on-one with our counselors, Crystal, myself, and Gloria. Or if you contact Bonnie, some of you know Bonnie Thomas Jeter. she can update your information in the system as well. Another question that I see in the chat was somebody said they were having difficulties registering in Small Biz Pro. Now, I want to point something out to you, and I can tell you exactly why you guys had difficulties registering Small Biz Pro. And that's simply because you guys did not listen to me carefully last week. So I'm going to say it again, just to make sure you guys are paying attention this time. If you do not put the proper address in there, the system is going to ask you for money. This is a free platform for you, free. Okay, so let me put the address in the box again for you. It's smallbizpro.net/join. smallbizpro.net/join. I just put it in right now. Okay. Let me make sure every one of you can see this. Copy it, and I'll send it to everyone so you guys can see this. smallbizpro.net/join. There is someone saying earlier that she was having difficulties. It wasn't allowing her to sign up. And then when she did sign up, it was asking for a credit card. Yes, it was asking you for that because you didn't include the word join/join. Got to do that. Okay. And please, if you have any questions about any of these things, guys, call us, and we'll straighten things out for you. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions before we go today? Any other questions?
It seems like, Gilbert, there may be a need for a QuickBooks class.
Oh, yes, yes. QuickBooks is definitely going to be one of the classes that we're going to schedule for you guys. Okay. So what I want to do, Rhonda Holbert is also one of our counselors. I forgot that. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for reminding me. Rhonda Holbert. So we've got 4 counselors who can help you guys. Okay. So once your request comes in for a counselor or to do a one-on-one, then Bonnie will disperse that information to one of us as counselors. Okay. She will connect you with one of the 4 counselors, and we'll be able to walk you through a process. Okay. Let's see what else here. Any other questions you guys have? QuickBooks class. Okay. Luson says, awesome, thank you. Okay. Now, remember this, your homework assignment was that you're supposed to do the business readiness assessment. I gave you the link in the presentation. All of you got the presentation from last week, right? I sent it to you guys. So you were supposed to do that homework assessment, and that assessment was supposed to tell me where you guys are, how ready you are, how close you are to readiness. You should be at 100%, but if you're not at 100%, that's when we'll schedule one-on-one coaching session with you and one of our counselors. So the counselor will go over your assessment results and help you to build your business to where it needs to be. It's very important that you guys build the business to where it needs to be, because as you know, opportunity comes through our doors every day. We never know what's going to come in. Just like I'm talking to you guys right now about being a barber or a hairstylist. We didn't know that until yesterday. We found out they're looking for that for the Super Bowl. Okay. So please, you guys want to be in the ready position at all times. Okay. Crystal, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys all for the great comments. Brian says he'll reach out to me in regards to QuickBooks class. Just remember, cash flow is the lifeblood of your business. So being able to manage your financials and have a solid financial structure is important, that can give you the information on your business's health and wellness.
Okay. And Charles said that he did not receive last week's webinar. Now, Charles, I emailed this to every person who registered last week. So go ahead and email me. Let me put my email in the chat. Go ahead and email those of you who didn't receive the presentation for last week, or if you didn't receive the link, the recorded Zoom link, I'd like you guys to go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll be happy to send it again, okay? So here is my contact information. There you go. That's my contact information right there in the chat. So just please copy this, and you guys can copy everything in the chat right now, just so you know that. Just copy everything, and then just call me, email me, or contact Crystal. Send Crystal an email. Crystal put her contact information in there, okay? And let's get this ball rolling. We really, really want to make sure that we help all of you guys, if not all of you, most of you, get ready for contracts or grants or certification throughout this program. This is not something we're playing with. We're serious about this. Some of you have expressed disappointment in previous SBA programs, whether it's an EIDL loan or the PPP loan. I just want to let you know that this isn't the same thing. This is a totally different approach to helping your small business grow and become successful, okay? If you follow our lead, you will definitely be more successful than you are right now. I just want to let you know that, okay? Michael, do you have any questions or anything you want to add before we go?
Just thank everyone for coming. The link to last week's workshop, Grant Readiness, is on our YouTube channel. The link is in the chat box now, so you can click on that and save that, watch it at your leisure. And also remember, if you register for one of these webinars, you will automatically be registered for all the other webinars. So you will receive a link for next week's webinar as well.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. Kelly, I see Kelly Redmond on here. Kelly, you had a question about a code. What was
that was for my tool, Slido.
Oh, that was for your tool. Okay. And Daryl Action had a question about community nonprofit. Daryl, do you want to clarify that a little bit?
No, he was telling me what type of business he had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
those are all in the early part of the
okay. I see.
Of the presentation.
Okay. All right. This is good. All right, folks. Well, we're 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes credit here. So if you have no other questions, I would really, really like to thank you guys. And you know what? Bonnie, could you please put the Urban League's general phone number in here so folks can call if they have questions and if they want to be connected with a counselor? You could, or the email address, if you could just go ahead and do that, please.
I love it, Gilbert. People said they had an awesome evening talking about cash flow.
Oh,
right up
yeah.
my alley.
I love that. I love that. Usually small businesses don't want to talk about cash flow. So
and nobody wants to talk about my sexy subjects.
So I'm glad they're happy. I am so glad. I am so glad.
Appreciate that, guys.
Yes. Well, again, Bonnie, here's Bonnie's number right there. If you guys, it's 213-453-9935, 213-453-9935. You guys can call that, reach out to Bonnie. Bonnie will assign you guys a counselor to do your one-on-one. And I want to thank those of you who already contacted me for your one-on-ones. This is great. Just continue that process. Just remember, the one-on-one coaching is not one time only, okay? It's throughout this whole program. So if you have more questions or more things to cover, we want to make sure your back office is set up properly. We want to make sure all your paperwork is in. Oh, one last thing I want to say to you guys before you go. Today is the 9th of February, the 9th of February. If your business license is within the city of Los Angeles, it's going to expire on the 28th of this month, 28th of this month. So you want to start renewing your business license right now. Otherwise, the city can charge you $300 or more because you're late. And also, if a grant comes up and they need a business license from the city of Los Angeles and yours expired, guess what? You miss an opportunity. So please, guys, let's try to get those licenses renewed ASAP, okay? So, Crystal, on behalf of the Los Angeles Urban League, Crystal, I want to thank you for a great presentation. As usual, make the subject real sexy and attractive. And
I aim to please.
yes. And Michael, I want to thank you also for being the technical director on this program. Appreciate you, Michael. And I also want to thank the other Urban League staff and affiliates on this program. Bonnie, I think I saw Brian on there too. So I want to thank you all for that. And again, if you're a barber or a hairstylist, you can stay on this call so I can talk to you guys a little bit, okay? So thank you all.
There were 3 hands up. I don't know if they.
How many?
There was 3 hands up. I don't know if they had questions for you.
Oh, okay. I don't see any hands up. I think they're all
Okay.
gone.
All righty.
So if you're a barber or hairstylist, please stay on here so I can talk to you guys, okay? About an opportunity. Thank you,
All righty.
Crystal.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Brian. See you guys. See you, Gilbert.
All right.
I'm on to my next class.
Take care, Crystal.
All right. Bye-bye.